What is going on, you beautiful humans? Welcome back to the channel. And today we are diving into something super important that I think is standing in your way, and that is the money habits that might be secretly sabotaging your wealth building efforts. Those little things that we do every day that keeps us stuck in a cycle of financial frustration. We see all these people living what seems to be that rich life, and as often as we see them scrolling through our Instagram feeds. But it's really less about how much money that they have and more about their money psychology. And it's more about what you believe about money and how those beliefs drive your behavior. Now, this can actually change for you, and you might be amazed at how quickly your financial life can transform once you ditch these habits. So really, let's break down the 7 most common money habits holding you back and what to really do instead. All right, starting at 1, as good as place as any. So this one, I made sure that even my kids are not practicing, and this is not paying attention to your money. It's like having a giant flashing warning light on the dash of your car and then pretending that it's not there. Most of us are guilty of this in some way, and maybe it's just ignoring that growing balance on your student loans or putting off investing because someday you'll understand the stock market. Someday is a mythical land where your financial dreams go to die. Now, thinking about the student loan debt, if you have student loan debt, and really I think right now we're not going to get any kind of forgiveness, it's just not going to disappear, but that interest is accruing, and the longer that you wait, the more you owe. My wish for you is to create a student loan repayment plan, and I know that as of right now, that the income-driven repayment plan, it is still available. I checked it, but there are some roadblocks trying to get kind of like put up in your way, but you may just have to get creative with it, but for now, I would still apply. But even an extra $50 a month can significantly shorten your repayment period and reduce that total interest. And then we got to talk about not just the debt, it's the investing. Too many people postpone investing thinking that they'll just start later when they have more money or they have more experience, but time is your most valuable asset when it comes to investing. If you can take 5 to 10% of your income minimum and set that up in an automatic investing account. And I'm heavily invested in stocks myself, but it really is a behavior that I established a long while ago. However, I think the move is with the least amount of demand on your time is a diversified portfolio of low-cost index funds or ETFs. This is where true wealth is created. And of course, don't get distracted by the allure of get-rich-quick schemes and penny stocks and just trying to time the market, because consistency is the long-term investment goal here. This is actually the way to go. And of course, the danger of not getting in the game is ignoring your finances, often stemming from fear or overwhelm. It's like ignoring that warning light on your car's dashboard that I was mentioning earlier. Eventually, it's going to lead to a breakdown. So you got to take control, even if it's scary at first. Let's actually get into that habit number 2. And this is really like asking those $5 questions. And I think that you know where I'm going with this. But when you ask those $5 questions and not the $50,000 questions, I see so many people who are stressed about money, and their reaction is to try to micromanage every tiny expense. They follow this hyper frugal advice. Cut back on your daily coffee, cut back on your grocery bill by buying the cheapest ingredients, cut back on your entertainment. And here's the thing, it's really a depressing way to live. And honestly, it doesn't really move the needle on your finances in the long run, and it just demotivates you to get on that path to wealth. And if you are agonizing over every single small purchase there is, I mean, quite frankly, there is a better way. I want you to focus on the areas that will make the biggest impact. These are the financial decisions that have the disproportionately larger effect on your wealth. Getting these big wins right is really worth way more than all the next 50 little things that you can do. And this, of course, is a big one, and that is the housing costs. Many people overspend on housing. They commit a large portion of their income to rent or a mortgage that stretches their budget. Optimizing your housing situation, perhaps by either downsizing, finding a roommate, or negotiating a better lease, can free up significant cash flow each and every month. And there's really nothing wrong with house hacking here, like with that roommate. Just make sure that you're doing your own due diligence and background checks on anyone that may be living in your space. And I also want to note here that I personally had roommates all the way up until I met my wife, and it was actually the same situation for her. There's nothing wrong with it. And what about that career development? How many of you just stay in the same job for years without seeking opportunities for growth or higher pay? Proactively seeking promotions is a good way to kind of start getting like upward momentum. And changing jobs to increase income is definitely a big win, or acquiring new skills can dramatically increase your earning potential. There is never anything wrong with investing in yourself through education or certifications that can lead to much larger financial gains than cutting back on small daily expenses. And of course, I do want to offer that caveat here because at the time of this particular video, I know that the job market isn't as robust in certain sectors. So make sure that you're doing your research on your own benchmarking as far as like what your position looks like, and even reaching out to your network to see what's going on in their space to see if things are as volatile as they are or where they could be, like where you are. And of course, there is the higher interest debt. And then we talked about this before, I always mention it, but we've got to reiterate the importance of it here because high interest debt like credit cards, that is a wealth killer. I mean, it will crush you. Attacking this debt aggressively frees up cash flow and provides a guaranteed return that often beats the stock market. I mean, really stop getting caught up in the amount of money that you can find in your sofa cushions. Although I haven't actually used cash and coins in years, so my sofas and pants pockets, they're pretty much broke these days. And then of course, moving into habit number 3, and I'm all for a good defense because that can definitely win some games, but playing defense with your money, there are so many things that are just out of our control, especially with the recent stock market nosedive, back up, and then down again. And of course, there are tariffs that's always a moving target these days, every few hours it seems, but you can't control these things. So when you're distracted by this, you tend to neglect the things that you can actually influence. If you've set up automatic investments into your Roth IRA, then there's really no reason to be logging into these accounts in the morning, then again at lunch, then again after your lunch crash where you can't find motivation to work. If you're taking the empowered approach, then you're on cruise control because you're always buying, regardless of the market. I repeat, always be buying. And of course, that was a quick one. So moving into the next one is following these beliefs about money that are so deeply ingrained in us that we don't even realize that it's guiding our attitudes and behaviors. They're the money stories that we have absorbed oftentimes from our families, and often without even questioning the reasoning. These psychological pitfalls will hold us back. And growing up, I remember hearing things like investing in the stock market is just too risky. It's like gambling, and I'd rather just go to Vegas where I can at least have some fun. Although I have seen some of those folks there literally looking like the life is sucked out of them. I'm not trying to knock Vegas, but there are some repeated behaviors where the house is just crushing them. But I will say that investing when I was growing up also didn't really offer any online options that we have today. And this was also the idea that this was really only for the wealthy and for someone who could afford a money manager. Although I did have some friends that started really early, and their families did help them get started with investing and would drive them literally down to an office to open up a custodial account that was later transferred to them. And I think that they're actually still doing pretty well today because of that grit. They wanted to do the boring thing, which was investing, rather than blowing all their money on bubble bits and Slurpees. But you still have to have some fun, and they certainly did too. But on that note, the idea of saving everything, while saving is important, if you have no clear path for what you're saving for, this can actually lead to excessive frugality, preventing you from enjoying your money and your experiences. Some of these excessive beliefs and behaviors that have been handed down can spill into your adult life. Even if you have got a great job or you started a business that's generating a revenue and you can live comfortably off of that, and then you're even investing money, but you still have this guilt about spending money on yourself for a nice vacation, or if you're just like looking to take up a hobby. It's just so deeply ingrained for some of us. So when you are ready to tackle these behaviors, first, you really need to acknowledge them. Simply recognizing these behaviors is the first step to breaking down their hold on you. And then, of course, looking deeper into the why. Why do you actually believe this? And is this really valid? And then, of course, consider the opposing argument. What if you were to actually take this and flip this back and state the opposite? How would that actually change your behavior? And then, of course, finding people that you want to model their behavior. Who do you admire when it comes to money? How would they think about this particular situation? This is supposed to be your narrative. Decide what you want to follow and which path you want to take for the next several chapters of your lives. One of the things that happened for me several years ago, though, was a very real perception that was going on through the lens of my kids as they were getting older. So for Father's Day, I ended up getting a gift from one of my boys that basically stated something along the lines that I'm such a hardworking dad. And I remember asking him about this because I wanted to make sure he didn't feel like I was prioritizing work over spending time with him. And I will say I've never missed a baseball game or a soccer match, and I even coached for many of their teams over several years, and that was definitely a priority to me, so much so I think I still have a faded stamp from a track meet that I was at earlier today. But that being said, when he saw me working, he just said that I really seemed to enjoy it and was completely immersed in it. What I wanted to make sure, though, is that he understood that this is actually where this perception that you have to always work hard to get that money. I stand behind a good work ethic, but I wanted him to also understand that I wasn't working tirelessly on things and sacrificing my own health, although there was actually really a short stint there where this was occurring. But I did get myself back in check. But I wanted him to know that the work I was doing, which was running and building other businesses, that is what excited me. I didn't feel like it was work, but I've also had experiences as an employee too, because I found something that I really loved. And a great career can be just as fulfilling. It doesn't have to just be a business. Anyway, I just wanted to make sure that he also understood that you can get so overwhelmed with the hustle, especially if you're not enjoying it, that you don't have time to look up and to find more streamlined ways to build wealth and to really have your money working for you. And that leads us into habit 5, is not having specific goals in mind for your path to wealth. I have definitely heard from a lot of people, and they're saying that they want freedom and they want to be able to do what they want when they actually want to do it. Yeah, sure. I mean, don't we all? It's pretty cliche, but I was also really not seeing them getting clear and building out that path. Although they didn't have to announce it to me to not see it, because it just seemed like they were standing in place even years later, and that just sounds so defeating. So rather than having a generic goal such as, I want to travel more, well, all right, where do you actually want to go, and what is it going to take for you to get to that point? Or then you might say, I want to be financially secure. Well, here's the thing, financial security means something different to each person or family. Let's get specific, because is it trying to pay off your main residence and purchase another property for fun? Do you want to have $2 million invested into your retirement accounts? Do you just want to be able to go into a store and see an outfit where you say, you know what, I could actually see myself really looking good and feeling good in this outfit? I'm just going to go ahead and buy it without fainting at the cost of it. Look, heading down a path that you've never been, it's like going on a hike without a plan or a map. You may likely end up in a situation where you think that you're moving forward, but you end up walking in circles or even going backward, and then you're like really pissed because you haven't even made any progress and it wasn't even enjoyable. So let's reiterate the specifics on what you want to achieve. What does it actually look like for you to feel successful? What do you need to get there? And as you move through all of this development of your goal, is it actually still something that you want to do? And if so, what is your timeline to get there? You can say that you want to take a trip to Costa Rica someday, which I highly recommend. It is so life-changing. But if you haven't researched what it will cost, you need to do that. And then instead of taking that number and saying, okay, I need $4,000 to make this trip happen, you need to say, I've got the number, and now I am going to set up an automatic transfer of $250 every pay period for the next 16 pay periods to reach that goal. You track this, you write it down somewhere so that you can actually see the progress. Even though it's automatic, it's still really nice to actually take a peek at knowing that you're moving closer to that goal. And then, of course, habit number 6 is just spending money, but you have no plan on how much and really like what is the most important thing to you. And then when you're spending that money, you start to have that guilt set in, and because you feel like you've pretty much just done something bad. And I hope my wife actually doesn't mind, but she actually doesn't watch these videos anyway, so I'm going to go with it. So she'll often go shopping and mostly hang out in the clearance section. And don't get me wrong, I love a bargain too, but I am also not going to just buy something because it's on sale. The whole time spent looking for those savings, and then you like end up spending more time on driving around, looking for coupons and deals online, which I do love those too, but my time is also worth something, and so is hers. She may come home with several pairs of jeans that she found on sale and not truly love, and any of them really. And then I ask her, like, why did you just not buy the pair that you really wanted? Because collectively, all those other jeans are adding up to that one pair. And honestly, you can wear a really good pair of jeans for quite a while and with many outfits. And honestly, if you want to take that trip, don't sell yourself short. I personally love to stay in homes rather than in resorts because I just love like getting out and about on my own and exploring. But I also like having tours and guides to help point me in the right direction. But you may want to stay in a resort and have everything planned out, and that is okay. If that is what you truly want, then take a swing, because don't just step up to the plate and then say, well, I showed up, and then you felt like you struck out without even taking a swing because you compromised your experience, which was supposed to be amazing. But you also have to sit down and you got to get good where your numbers are. As you're planning all of this out, this is not about cutting everything to the bone. This is about setting yourself up so that you can enjoy the money that you're working for and the money that is working for you. So what you need to do is look at your fixed cost, and these are your essential expenses. That is your rent, your mortgage, the utilities, and your transportation, your debt payments, and try to keep this at no more than about 50 to 60% of your take-home pay. If they are higher, this is actually going to feel like you are constantly stressed out about money. And then, of course, there are the investments. This is for your future, and I hope that you do have a future. So putting 10% of your take-home pay minimum. If you have more to allocate though, then take advantage of that compound interest. Then of course there is the savings, and this is for your shorter term goals, and then even like some of the emergencies too. And a down payment on a house could be part of your goal. That vacation that we were talking about, that you might even have to push that out a year or two, but aim for at least 5 to 10% of your take home pay and set it up automatically, please. And then everyone should be able to have some money to pretty much spend on whatever it is that you want that doesn't cause you any stress. 20% is a good starting point of your take-home pay. I think that's actually a pretty decent start. And you can scale that up if you need to, as long as you're not eating into the other categories. That could be that date night, your hobbies, day trips, doing something special for yourself, or even if you just want to share something special with your family. I know that the fun money may seem frivolous, but when you have a plan and you're following that map on that hike that I was telling you about of yours, then this should make you feel good, not guilty. You can always adjust if you need to, as long as you're taking action on it and setting this up for yourself. And here's a habit that I started out with in my early adult life, which was likely due to the environment that I was in, but it's having that scarcity mindset. You'll never be able to afford to travel like that. That new car is a waste of money. You don't deserve to spend money on yourself. Pretty much a scarcity mindset can be crippling and will continue to hold you back if you're always feeling like there isn't enough in your life. I grew up in a home where food was scarce, and I remember saying to myself that when I make it, whatever that actually looked like at the time, I was always going to have good food in the house. And I will tell you that as much as I love saving money on my groceries, I will still buy that item that I want, and I am not going to sacrifice on the quality. I am very selective in that area. It's just really important to me. And of course, the same goes for experiences, because I know my numbers. One of the things that we invest in are ski and snowboard passes, because quite frankly, that activity is just ridiculously expensive. And if you don't have one, but there's still an investment in those passes and all the times that we go up to the mountains. But that experience is priceless to me. We have been going up since our kids were 3, and they are now out there on their own with their friends, although I do still get invited along because I can still hang. But what it comes down to is that if I had nickeled and dimed my life, I wouldn't have had those experiences and memories with them. And the thing is what am I going to do? Like hoard the money that we have and then one day we're gone and then our kids get to enjoy it? Hell no, we are going to be doing this together for as long as we possibly can. So instead of focusing on what you think you don't have, focus on the abundance and practice some gratitude for your income, the assets that you're building, and the opportunities that are available to you. You can start with the little things, but treat yourself to something that you enjoy and that you don't feel bad about. Prove to yourself that spending money on things that you value doesn't lead to a financial wreck. And then, of course, shifting your mindset does take time and practice. I totally get it, but it is essential for building a truly wealthy life. So that, of course, is the rundown on these money habits that are keeping many of you stuck out there. And remember, building wealth isn't just about the numbers. It's about your mindset, your behavior, and your relationship with money. Change those, and you will definitely change your financial outcomes. I would love to know which of these habits resonates with you the most. And as always, I appreciate your time here, and I will see you in the comments below. Stay informed and stay empowered on your next level up, and I will catch you right back here on the next one.